Hello, and this is Delia again. I'm reading The Struggle, and I'm on chapter 8. Do you know what's strange about that Vicky? About what Vicky did at school? I mean, aside from all the obvious things, Bonnie said, licking chocolate frosting off of her fingers. What, said Elena dully. Well, the way she's ended up in her slip. She looked just like she did when we found her on the road that night. Only then she was all scratched up too. Cat scratches, we thought, said Meredith, finishing the last bite of her cake. She seemed to be in one of her quiet, thoughtful moods. Right now she was watching Elena closely, but that doesn't seem very likely. Elena looked straight back at her. Maybe she fell in some brambles, she said. Now, if you guys are finished eating, do you want to see that first note? Okay, light, this stupid thing. It's supposed to have a light. There it goes, okay. I have a light on it. Okay. They left their dishes in the sink and climbed the stairs to Elena's room. Elena felt herself flush as the other girls read the note. Bonnie and Meredith were her best friends, maybe her only friends now. She'd read them passages from her diary before, but this was different. It was the most humiliating feeling she'd ever had. Well, she said to Meredith, the person who wrote this is 5 feet 11 inches tall, walks with a slight limp, and wears a false mustache. Meredith intoned. Sorry, she added, seeing Elena's face. Not funny. Actually, there's not much to go on, is there? The writing looks like a guy's, but the paper looks feminine, and the whole thing has a sort of feminine touch. Put in Bonnie, bouncing slightly on Elena's bed. Well, it does, she said defensively. Quoting bits of your diary back at you is the kind of thing a woman would think of. Men don't care about diaries. You just don't want it to be, Damon, said Meredith. I would think you'd be more worried about being a psycho killer than a diary thief. I don't know. Killers are sort of romantic. Imagine you're dying with his hands around your throat. He'd strangle the life out of you, and the last thing you'd see would be his face. Putting her own hands on her throat, Bonnie gasped and expired tragically, ending up draped across the bed. He can have me any time, she said, eyes still closed. It was on Elena's lips to say, don't you understand this is serious? But instead she hissed on in a breath. Oh, God, she said, and ran to the window. The day was humid and stifling, and the window had been open. Outside on the skeletal branches of the quince tree was a crow. Elena threw the sash down so hard that the glass rattled and tinkled. The crow gazed at her through the trembling panes, with eyes like obsidian. Rainbows glimmered in its sleek black plumage. Why did you say that? She said, turning to Bonnie. Hey, there's nobody out there, said Meredith gently, unless you count the birds. Elena turned away from them. The tree was empty now. I'm sorry, said Bonnie in a small voice after a moment. It's just that it doesn't seem real sometimes. Even Mr. Tanner's being dead doesn't seem real. And Damon did look, well, exciting, but dangerous. I can believe he's dangerous. And besides, he wouldn't squeeze your throat. He'd cut it, Meredith said. Or at least that's what he did to Tanner. But the old man under the bridge had his throat ripped open, as if some animal had done it. Meredith looked to Lena for clarification. Damon doesn't have an animal, does he? No, I don't know. Suddenly, Elena felt very tired. She was worried about Bonnie, about the consequences of their foolish words. Okay, and I'll continue to part 2.